A few years ago, I made a video called Reacting to My Old Comic Books, or something along those lines, and it got very, very popular. Last year, I made a follow-up video called Reading More of My Old Comic Books. That, again, got very popular, and I thought, yeah, there's still some water left in this well. So today, would you believe it, we're looking at even more of my old comic books. Because you know, the third in the trilogy is always the best one. So what are we looking at today? We've got 4 comics to go through. This was the first time I attempted a proper crossover story arc. This is a crossover between Pluto Penguin and Super Remo, the two characters who I did comics of most often when I was a child. So we open with this. This is Pluto Penguin and Bert versus the evil flying pig. Look at that cover. Very colourful. A lot of joined up lettering going on in the in the logo. I've also called it Marvel Mystery 1, so any day now Disney are gonna come knocking down my door to arrest me for intellectual property infringement. And we gotta look at the flying pig in question here. 3 red eyes and wings and just a big pig. What more could you ask for, really? I also like especially the detail that I've added a fake price tag up in the corner as though this was an actual comic on sale. I think I explained who Pluto Penguin and Bert were in one of my last videos, but just a quick recap. Pluto Penguin is a penguin from Pluto with powers. Bert is his alien sidekick who is a bit dumb but well-meaning. That's the dynamic that they have. So it opens with Pluto just yelling at Bert while he's trying to eat the last bun, which has a tag on it that says last bun. I'm not sure who put that tag there. Like when they got the box of buns, was that already earmarked as the last one, or did they wait until all the others were gone and then put a tag on it just so they'd know it was the last one? Who knows? So Pluto yells at Bert and says it's an emergency, we're out of fish. Classic penguin emergency. And he instructs Bert to go to the shop to buy more. On his way to the shop, Bert encounters an evil flying pig with 3 eyes. He asks it, "Who are you?" And the pig says, "I'm an evil flying pig with 3 eyes." The villain origin stories here, off the charts. Magneto's got nothing on this. Bert mishears the pig, thinking that it said it's got 3 eyes, as in eyes for free, and then just plucks one of its eyeballs out. Bert is the hero, supposedly, in this story, but he has just pulled an eyeball right out of someone's face. To be fair, the pig is identifying as evil. It doesn't seem to be taking any kind of retaliation, it's just sort of sits there a bit grumpy. While Bert walks away with his free eyeball, he sort of realises what's just happened, what the encounter he's just had is, and runs back to Pluto to tell him there's an evil flying pig and they need help. And then the two of them go to the UFO-mobile, which is the spaceship that those two fly around in. Bert then has an idea. Classic light bulb over the head situation. Reaches into his pocket. There's a whole host of ramifications for that, because Bert, I generally depict it in kind of an E.T. style, like he's not wearing clothes. So what is he reaching into there? We find out what he was reaching for is the last bun itself, which somehow the pig has gotten a hold of and is now eating. Also, the pig has somehow gotten his eye back. And then the fight begins. We have here a fliporama. If anyone else read the Captain Underpants series as a kid, you will know that I ripped this off completely from Daft Pilkey. Okay, this is captioned Bombs on the Brain. Bert has been lowered on some sort of wire holding a bomb, or at least a round object that says bomb on it, spelled B-O-M, and appears to have flames coming out of it, and is just whacking the pig on the head with that. And then you flip the page back and forth and it makes it look like it's a GIF, basically. The pig's now saying, "I've lost my wings, so I guess that bomb singed its wings off." I'm actually amazed there hasn't been a pigs can fly joke in here. That is obvious. Why would that not be in here? And yet, it is absent. The pig realises he's lost his wings, and then there's a moment just before he falls out of the sky, and then crashes onto a traffic light, which very much confuses the drivers who are on their way to work. The Italian job's got nothing on that. They should have done that in the Italian job, really. And now the mayor is here, and the mayor, how do I put this, is a potato. The mayor is a potato. He's a potato with arms and legs. This is secretly a VeggieTales crossover. He reaches into something, and he's just reaching for, like, cotton wool to stuff his ears so that the honking of car horns doesn't disturb him. What a good side plot that was. Cut back to Pluto and Bert, and Pluto is scolding Bert for not hitting him harder, which I think is harsh. He's done a great deal of damage. He's taken away its wings, its power of flight, one of its biggest advantages, and in the meantime, Pluto hasn't done anything other than tell Bert what to do. And then just because we need some more tension to rack up, the engine breaks, and let's have a look at the engine of the UFO-mobile. Because I don't think I knew how engines worked when I drew this. It's a box with the letter E on it, and then some wires coming out of it, and then it just snaps in half. That's what happens when engines break, right? And then there's a storm, I think. There's just a storm, or maybe that's caused by the engine breaking. I'm not sure if that's inside the engine or not. We then cut to a weather reporter who says, "I wish the weather would stop changing." Cut to a headmaster and some school children, and the headmaster says, "This looks like a job for Super Remo." I'm not sure what he's referring to. The weather? I don't think that's the most pressing issue at the moment. There is an evil pig going around. Okay, this is really weird. I don't know what I'm looking at. Well, the headmaster, I need to point out, is like a square. He's just a square man. But he says Super Remo can't help because he's at work. Then we cut to Super Remo's work. He's eating something, and then the next panel, someone says to him, "Well done, you ate all the cheese." The stakes have never been higher. Then we go back to our pig who's getting zapped by lightning. The pig just dies, and Pluto, Penguin, and Bert just land on it and say, "Hey, I think we killed it." And then a random crowd cheer for Pluto, Penguin, and Bert, and Remo appears just in the corner there in a different pen, so this is clearly an afterthought, and looks on in awe. This was a weird one. Not the weirdest. So let's review the actions of our heroes. On encountering a mutant pig that says it's evil, Bert pulls out its eyeball and runs away. They then get in their UFO-mobile and fly around. The pig comes flying after them. Bert hits it on the head with a bomb. They land on the pig after it's been hit by lightning, and that's the whole story. Or is it? For if you recall, there are 4 parts to this nonsense. We've got some ways to go. Part 2. This is a Super Remo comic. If you recall, in the previous videos, there was a trend of very long titles. So we've got Super Remo Special, Marvel Mystery 2, in The Night of the Terror of the Return of the Revenge of the Evil Flying Pig with the 3 Eyes, Part 2. You need to take a deep breath after saying that. One continuing night is how we begin. There is thunder, and it is lightning, and it is crashing down on the pig's grave. I like that they gave it a grave, by the way. Like, they had a burial service for it, clearly. Room was made in a cemetery for the body of the pig. Inside the grave, bam, eyes open, I'm alive. And it breaks out looking for revenge. To be honest, I don't blame it. It had its eye ripped out of its socket. That's gotta hurt. We now cut to Super Remo himself. I'm very glad that I dropped the super from that title, because it does just sound like I'm saying super emo, like he got bitten by a radioactive Gerard Way. So Remo is sleeping, and he has a little teddy with a gun called Gun Ted, and he wakes up and he just goes on his morning stroll. A voice from off panel says, "Hold still," and then he gasps in sheer terror, and you can tell because it says sheer terror. We then see from the pig's eye view, I think it says target range there, and you can see Remo is in the crosshairs. Turns out I wasn't quite remembering correctly when I said I thought the pig shot bullets out of its eyes, because that would be ridiculous, shooting bullets out of your eyes. No, what really happens is it shoots a tiny bomb out of its nose. Turns out it's just a very small bomb and doesn't really have much impact. It's not gone off yet. He's just caught it in his hand like a tennis ball. Then the pig roars and leaps at him. The pig leaps at Remo, and then Remo throws its bomb right back at it. Then it blows up. I'm really thinking this pig needs to work on its battle strategies, because so far it's 2 for 2 on getting hit with bombs. And then the fight begins. So during the Fliporama things, which again, shamelessly stolen from Dav Pilkey, I have drawn extra panels on the other side. And this one has a little thing that says, "Do not read until later. If it's later now, read on." Same applies to page 5. So after you do the Fliporama, which is the pig getting hit with a mallet, you've then got to go back to before it starts and keep on reading. No consistency in the eyes of the pig here. It's not got the target or the one ripped out or anything. It's just back to normal now. So its head pops out of its body, after being forced in there by a sledgehammer. Remo says, beat that, while a car drives towards it. I'm not quite sure if the scale here is quite right. And then the pig says something interesting. You have to kill me twice to defeat me, and I've already been killed once. Never a great battle strategy when you just tell your weaknesses to your opponent straight up. That would be like me saying, you'd have to cut my head off with a knife to kill me, and I've never had that happen to me before. First time for everything though. And just like I've just said, Remo then says you shouldn't have said that. And here's where stuff really gets out of hand. The pig says, who cares, there is a blood flood. And it's it's doing the evil villain hand rubbing thing, but it's just got trotters, so it's not, it's just sort of. So then it says, there is a blood flood. What's that, you might ask? Why is that happening, you might ask? I can tell you one of the answers to those. A blood flood is a flood of blood. And then, like for no reason. For no reason. Like stuff happened in the ones in the last video for no reason at all. But this really is for no reason at all. The entire world starts flooding with blood. I don't know. I want to dissect the Earth that I've drawn. I don't know what these countries are. Is this Earth at all? Unfortunately it is, because he does go to Madagascar to escape the blood flood. He gets on a plane, and the blood follows the plane, like the lava in 2012. And we've got a little timer. Time until the blood flood comes. 0 minutes, 30 seconds. Remo is doing something with his hands. I wish I'd phrased that differently. He's shaking something. Then he says, phew, finished, and we see what he was shaking was a coconut, and now milk is pouring out of the coconut. 10 seconds till the blood flood hits. And we see the planet again. Blood coating one side, milk coating the other. You have to wonder what's going on in the rest of the world outside of Remo's story. Like, what are the news reporting? What? How many celebrities are hopping on their Instagram to sing a song about this, you know? So then the milk and the blood collide. When they collide, the whole liquid mess, this is gross, this is super gross, starts to shrink it and go back. While the pig is celebrating this, the blood and coconut milkshake swiveled back to Hero City onto the pig, who steps in a gutter. This. And then there's a crash, and I think maybe that means a car crashed into him. There's just a bit of blackness here, with a handy annotation that says blackness. And the pig says, oh, you know what this means, ... I'm dead. Classic catchphrase of people who are already dead. I think I speak for everyone watching this when I say, what was any of that? What? But that's not the end. Not even of this issue. We get a little snap of the next day. Remo's walking along. He says, I'm glad everything is over. And then someone rolls off screen. Remo says, the blood caught my irritating twin brother. Not really a twin, is he? They don't look the same. I'm interested in the logic behind the blood caught my twin brother, because if we look back, the blood caught literally half of everyone in the world. And then he just runs away. Remo runs away, being pursued by his twin brother, and that's the end. I've just seen the back of this and it says, get ready to enter a serious adventure. Yeah, this was definitely very serious. And then we get a little preview of the next one on the back as well. Super Remo Special continued. The Curse of the Hypnotized, Irritating Twin Brother. Here we have that image again recreated. The intro gives a little profile on who they both are. Remo and Omer, which is Remo flipped around, and he has recently been turned evil. We pick up right where we left off, actually, with Remo running away from his twin. A police officer turns up, so there's more than one pig in this story, and says, do you need help? His twin brings out a gun and says, no you don't. Bang! And the police officer is dead. Where he dies, a headstone just appears in his place. I love cartoon logic like that. Remo's twin just steps into a time machine. Just a time machine was there, it was on the road, you know how time machines are just everywhere on the road. Remo's twin gets in the time machine, says, see you in hell, sucker. Remo says that's what he thinks, and he grabs onto the outside of the time machine, and then flash. Both of them go back in time. Bet you didn't expect that, says Remo. I didn't expect any of this. I wrote this, and I didn't expect it. Remo uses the scrunched up time machine to hit his twin on the head. You might be wondering what this is. This is a overhanging cliff. Omer points at it and says, I hope part of that rock falls off, and then it does. Part of the rock that is above his head falls off, bonks him on the head. But then he says, my assistant can kill you, and a caveman shows up. It's unclear at what point this business dynamic was founded. When did this caveman apply to be his assistant? That's what I want to know. Was there an interview process, or did he just see a caveman and go, that's my assistant, yep. He's gonna kill you. And then Remo runs away. It's a classic move for Remo in these comics that I did, that he just runs away instead of fighting or standing his ground like a hero might. He just runs away. And then he remembers he does have one weapon left at his disposal. Gun Ted. If you remember, he had a teddy bear with a gun, pulls that out and throws it at the caveman. It does nothing, because it's a teddy bear. And it's not a real gun, it just flops against the caveman's body and falls to the ground. And then he goes on to plan B. There is a vulture in a cage or a box here. The caveman keeps saying Ooga Booga, must kill Ooga Booga and stuff. That is pretty much the extent of his vocabulary, and his name is Ooga Booga. Believe it or not, Remo releases the vulture, and it's just an egg that hatches a baby vulture, which then gets zapped by lightning, I think? Yep, lightning is really the main villain, I think, of this story. Like, the weather in this story has more agency than any of the characters in it. Ooga Booga is still around, he's saying he must destroy. Remo moves on to plan C. Remo pulls out a trophy and tells him, Ooga Booga, you have won Best Caveman Ever trophy. To which he says, thank. As Ooga Booga goes to accept the award, Remo smashes it over his head, and that makes him angry. And then Remo's twin comes back, and he is miraculously cured from his evil, and hands him a 100 something weight. It doesn't say kilograms or grams or pounds or anything on it. It just says 100 on it. It could be anything. Remo chucks the weight at Ooga Booga, but Ooga Booga catches it with his caveman club. It overbalances his caveman club, and he whacks himself on the head with his caveman club. And then we see him dead next to his grave, and it says drip. D-R-I-P-P. Don't rest in peace, please. And then the final page, just a grave, it says E-N-D. End now or die, which does sum up a lot of my feelings reading this. So that was part 3. Murder occurred. Instead of trying to fight his evil twin or calm the situation in any way, Remo just ran away. Then his twin got in a time machine and took them back to caveman times, where his assistant, a caveman named Ooga Booga, tried to kill Remo. Remo just threw a bunch of stuff, quite literally just threw a bunch of stuff. A teddy bear, a vulture egg, and a weight. Where did that vulture come from? That's what I want to know. Was that box already there in the caveman times? A box labelled vulture that contained a vulture egg that was soon to hatch? At what point in the process of the vulture egg, like did the vulture's parents put the egg in there? Did someone take the egg and put it in there? Did this happen in caveman times or in the modern day, then got sent back in time? Was it part of the time machine apparel? Am I overthinking this way too much because I was a kid and was just writing random nonsense? Yes. Let's keep going. The Revenge of the Return of Ooga Booga. Let's analyse the front cover, shall we? We've got Pluto Penguin there, he says hi. Bert again says hi. He's either pointing or giving the bird. I would guess pointing because of the age that I wrote this, but it really does look like he is flipping off Ooga Booga. And there is Ooga Booga hiding behind some rocks. He appears to have, like, alien antennae now? We open on Bert digging through the rubble of the last adventure, next to the grave of the pig, and then he finds the last bun. Now if I remember my food tech course properly, you shouldn't eat that. He then gets interrupted by Pluto yelling at him, very similar to how the very first issue opened, isn't it? And then he says, don't tell me, we're out of fish again, to which Pluto says, no, we're out of sardines, go to the shop to buy more. But at least Bert does get to eat the bun this time, which is framed as a victory, but again, that bun has been underground, it has been eaten by something else, I think. The pig did eat that bun in the first issue. Basically, there is a lot of hygiene malpractice going on. Meanwhile, at the fish-only shop, the grave that says D-R-I-P-P, don't rest in peace please, which is the inscription for Ooga Booga's cave. I guess it's lasted all the way up to the modern day. Some guy is walking with a box of fish, presumably the shop owner or a member of staff. They trip over a twig, and the box of fish flies onto the gravestone. Ooga Booga's spirit is disturbed. Ooga Booga breaks out of his grave and is alive again. And then he goes into the shop. I guess you've been dead for thousands and thousands of years. You're gonna be a bit peckish, aren't you? Bert then arrives at the very same shop. He just sees a box that is labelled fish. Ooga Booga crawls out of it. He must smell very bad. He's been in a box of fish. You can tell there is actually fish in there because a little fish comes out when he does. The caveman introduces himself and says, "Ugh, Ooga Booga." Bert freaks out and runs away. Goes back to Pluto and says, "Pluto, it's a caveman, help." Pluto, Penguin and Bert go back to the UFO-mobile. Then they crash into the start of Mount Everest, which is marked by a sign, and there's another sign there that says the end of Mount Everest's cactus pile. Now let's assess what we remember from every geography lesson ever. I'm fairly certain there are no cacti growing on the slopes of Mount Everest. But as well as the end of the cactus pile, on Mount Everest, we can just see there is Ooga Booga hiding behind some rocks. Bert and Pluto look over the pile of rocks, and there Bert sees that Ooga Booga, the caveman, has hold of the last pie, which is labelled the last pie. He notices them watching him, and the fight begins. So Pluto and Bert run away, Ooga Booga chases them, but he trips, and then he falls onto a cactus. And of course that makes him angrier than ever before. I do not know what is going on with his eye there. And then Pluto scolds Bert for not laughing at him harder. Again, these are supposed to be the heroes. Ooga Booga has in fact done nothing wrong. He awoke from being dead, went into a fish shop, got into a box of fish to have a little nap. Bert disturbed him, then freaked out just because he was a caveman, ran away and got Pluto. And then somehow they all made it to Mount Everest. The caveman ate a pie, and then tripped and fell on a cactus. Pluto and Bert then fly away, their work is done. We cut down to the engine, which again is just like a box with an E on it and some wires, and it's been sellotaped together after it broke in the first issue, and I'm not sure what this switch shape is. Oh, it's the club! Right, Ooga Booga chucks his club, and then it lands on the engine, and that's what breaks the engine again. I guess it just goes through the wall of the UFO-mobile into the engine. Just because is really the only justification for anything that is happening in this story at this point. So the engine breaks and there's a big explosion. Pluto and Bert fall onto a beach. And then the caveman, he's swimming onto the beach with them. He's caught up with them. But then his own club falls from the sky and bonks him on the head.
Bonks him on the head.
Aerodynamics really don't exist, do they? How has that club stayed in the air for so long, where Pluto and Bert have already landed and had a little chat, yet that is still falling? The club then falls into Bert's hand, so then Bert uses the club to whack him on the head right where he has already been whacked. There's a little extra panel where someone off screen says that's gotta hurt, and the caveman says, "Grr, it did." And there's another extra where he says, "That felt like being inside one of these." And then there's a drawing of a meteor shower. So after all of that amazing action, Bert continues to just keep punching Ooga Booga. Punches him, kicks him, and then the president appears. Bert has basically beaten this caveman with punches and kicks so that they are shriveled up into a husk of their former selves. He's clearly caught in some kind of battle frenzy. He is clearly actually a barbarian who has used rage for the first time. The president says, "Thank you for disposing of that caveman." But Bert, caught up in his battle frenzy, says, "Take that," and shoves the president's hat down over his head with a big punch. And that really is the very end. And that's the story. Can you believe we had to study Lord of the Flies and not that in English? Whew. I know what you may be thinking. On their own, these comic issues aren't really that good. They make no sense. There's no logic to the plot or the character motivations, but when you add them all together and read them all as one, that is still exactly the case. However, in more recent years, I've begun writing my own comics again, and you can read them. Go to Random Jot Comics on Facebook, or you can visit my other YouTube channel, My Superhero Universe, where I've turned them into motion comics. The most recent one I did was called Something Blue. It is the story of Isabella Steele. On the day of her wedding, she gets transported halfway across the globe and turns into a blue demon and sets off on a journey to figure out why that has happened. I am genuinely very proud of that one. Go ahead and follow those links. And if you enjoyed watching me suffer as I gaze upon my own creation, why not like this video? And hey, if you're not already, subscribe, stick around for more. Comment what your favourite piece of hot nonsense from all of this was down below. That's it for this video. Thank you for coming along on this journey with me, and I am sorry. I am sorry for this. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I will see you in my next one.